many producers, Sam, Pestivirus is something that comes up every now and then. What has your experience been like with Pestivirus?
I have had the experience of Pestivirus in this herd, and that was over 25 years ago. And at that particular time, the Pestigard vaccination had only just come out. We were convinced at that point that the best solution going forward was for a whole herd vaccination. So we have a whole herd vaccination in place and have done for the last 20 plus years.
What were the first symptoms you noticed, and what does it mean to you now? Do those practices in place beforehand?
What's important to understand, my practice has occurred over a period of 25 years. The losses that occur as a consequence of Pestivirus, the first thing that you'll know is that your calving pattern will be disrupted. As we know, infection early in utero will result in potential loss of an embryo. The end consequence is those breeding females will get back in calf once they've developed immunity, but it'll be later in their breeding cycle. Could be later the second cycle, could be later the third. So the first thing you're going to notice is your calving spread is miles apart. Will that have an impact on your business? Yes, because what happens is your calving spread, if it's 6 to 8 weeks, it might end up being 9 to 12 to 15 weeks. The end consequence, of course, is everything will be delayed as conception is later. Obviously, if you're running multiple artificial breeding programs, it will be a disaster. So the end result of that is, of course, you want to ensure immunity from this in terms of vaccinations. And these vaccinations can be given up to 4 to 6 weeks before your AI programs or your breeding programs. Extremely important to know how effective they are. Now, in terms of the cost, what you've got to accept that is the late calf acceptable in your business when you can bring that calf forward and get paid more for it because it's been eating grass. But the other thing is, remember that if your animals are infected later in utero and the calf becomes a PI, where you've got at least 1 in 10 of those animals that you will never know has Pestivirus. But of those other 9 out of that 10, a few will die and the rest will have ill thrift and they'll be pretty poor in terms of their animal health, and that won't look good. And the consequence for us is when we were first exposed to it is that we actually tested a control mob where we identified it, and then we removed those animals from the whole breeding program that were tested as PIs. So in other words, they were infected mid to late utero, and we're pretty sure of exactly what happened with a travelling mob of cattle on the route exposed to our cattle. And remember, it's transferred and passed by sniffing, by feces, by urination, anything that involves contact where animals are going to contact each other over the fence. So look, it's important that we're aware and that we're always testing. And so we have the opportunity that every time we now submit a DNA sample, we're determining for the incidence of PIs in the herd. And we've had none for a number of years, for 20 odd years plus. All right. But the thing is, we're always testing it and we'll continue to test it. The other issue, particularly with the vaccination, if you were to expose a herd to a persistently infected animal, what most people think is that whole herd will gain that immunity. Well, my experience is that they don't. All right. It's much the same. You're in a situation, even if you vaccinate, you're going to get 85, 90% efficacy and you're going to get that coverage. But even with a PI animal running around with those animals, they're not all going to get immunity. All right. That happens over time with long-term vaccination. I think the cost of the vaccination is worthy of the fact that it's not appropriate or affordable to have the losses that come around as a consequence of Pestivirus.
What would you say to other stud breeders who maybe, or any producers in general, who may be tossing up whether to vaccinate or not? What's your simple advice to them be?
Oh, look, I think bull breeders, I think our clients are demanding it. So I think it's appropriate that it becomes a standard practice at industry. Each commercial breeder has to come up with their own justification for the decision and why they think it would be a benefit or not a benefit to them. But for me, it's a no-brainer. We started whole herd vaccinations and maintained it for 20 years, and I have no dramas with respect to the cost of it. I think it's a worthy vaccination, something worthy of continuing.